Hello guys. Next topic what we are discussing is deadlock prevention. So how we can prevent your deadlock is just by violating any of the four necessary conditions what we are discussed in your deadlock characterization. So out of these four conditions, if you make any one condition that does not hold in your system, then what you can do is the deadlock will never happen in the system. So they said that violate any of the four necessary conditions. Okay, they are mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, and circular wait. In this first one, we'll discuss that is your mutual exclusion. So already we have discussed. So whenever you go with your mutual exclusion, at least one of the resources should be in which one here non-shareable mode. So whenever I say non-shareable mode, what happens is the resource cannot be shared among multiple processes. Once a particular process is being allocated with the resources, no other process can allocate that resources until it is being released. So example for your non-shareable resources, what I can say is printer. Okay, printer always it can be what non-shareable. So simultaneously, if two or more processes, if they want to access, or two or more users, if they want to access your printer, it is not possible. It is unimplementable. Okay, that's why whenever the resources or your non-shareable, at that time what happens is some other process has to wait until what the previous process is going to release the resources. So what you can do in your mutual exclusion is you can make the resources as what shareable. Okay, the best example for shareable resource what you can say is read-only files. So whenever you just say read-only files, what happens is whenever multiple processes are accessing your read-only files, what happens is at a time all the particular process can access simultaneously without waiting for what? Without waiting for that particular shareable resources. So at that time what happens is simultaneously it can access. So that any process never needs to wait for what? Your shareable resources. Okay, what you can do is in your mutual exclusion, you make the resources as what? Shareable resources. Whenever you make shareable resources, what happens is no process has to wait. Simultaneously can access the particular resources. So best example what you can say is read-only files. Okay, so sometimes it is unimplementable. Okay, like your printer, scanner and everything, it will be in which one? Yeah, non-shareable mode itself. That's it. So in simple thing in your mutual exclusion, how we can avoid this one is make the resource as what? A shareable resources. We'll discuss. The second one is hold and wait. To ensure that the hold and wait never occurs in a system, what I can do is whenever a process requests a resources, it does not hold any other resources. So suppose if your P1 process is holding printer and is using them, and it also requests for additional resources scanner, at that time what it will do is first it has to release this printer, then it can request for which one? Yeah, your scanner. So that's what they said. So there are two ways in which I can ensure that this hold and wait never happens in your system. So one is one protocol. So what happens is each process has to request the resources whatever it needs before it's going to start its execution. That's what they said. Each process can request the resources, and before execution all the particular resources whatever it is it should be allocated to process. In meanwhile no process has to request for what? Additional resources. That is how I can avoid what? Your hold and wait. Hope you are getting. Before execution I need to request all the resources, and all the particular resources will be allocated first itself. During execution, you should not request for additional resources. That's it, first one. Second one, what happens is the other protocol allows a process to request the resources only when it has none. So what do you mean by that is nothing but a process can request the resources and use them. So before requesting for additional resources, it has to release the currently allocated resources. Hope you are getting. So suppose if I am currently requested for printer and I am using them, before requesting for additional resources, that is your scanner, I should release what? Your printer. Then only I can request for what? Your the other resources. Hope you are clear with your hold and wait. The third one, it's no preemption. To ensure that this condition never holds in your deadlock, what you can do is resources can be preempted from the resources. Resources can be preempted from the processes. Here what I can do is you can use a protocol. What that will do is if a process is holding some resources and request for another resources, but that cannot be immediately granted, at that time it need not wait. What it can do is, then all the resources currently being held, whatever it is being held, are being preempted. That's it. So this is one condition. So what happens is, if a process is holding some resources and it's going to request for some additional resources, but it is not immediately granted. Okay, at that time what happens is, then all the resources that is been holding, whatever it is been holding, that will be released. Okay, that is one method what you can do. You can preempt the resources from what? From your processes. And the next condition you can check. You can use a protocol. What does it do is, process requested resources. If it is available, okay, you just check whether it is available or not. If it is available, what you can do is, you can allocate the resources. If it is not available, what you will do is, you will just check whether the particular resources is being allocated to some other waiting process. If it is not available, you will check whether the particular resource is being held by some other waiting process. At that time what you can do is, if so, we preempt the desired resources from what? From the waiting process to the requesting process. So here you just think that P1 is requesting for resource R1, but that R1 is held by P2 process, and P2 process is waiting for some other resources. At that time what happens? P1 is requesting for resource R1. If it is not available, it checks whether this resource is being held by some other waiting process. It is waiting for some other process. At that time what we'll do is, we can preempt the desired resources from what? From the waiting process, and preempt to what? And preempt to the requesting process, and preempt to what? The requesting process. So that is how we can ensure that the no preemption will not hold good. So what you can do is, you need to preempt the resources from what? The process. So first one is this one. So if a process is holding some resource and it is going to request for additional resources, if it is not available, immediately allocated to it, it should not wait. What should do is, it has to, what all the currently resource that is being held, that has to be released voluntarily. That's it. Hope you are clear with this. Last one is circular wait. One way to ensure that this condition will never hold, what you can do is, you can impose total ordering of all resource type. Total ordering is nothing but, for every particular resources you are assigning what? An integer number. And whenever you are going to request for the resources, it has to request in an increasing order of enumeration. So they said that each process can request for the resources in what? In higher order, in an increasing order. So for that what you can do is, integer number is been assigned to what? Every resources. That is, one-to-one function is being defined. One-to-one mapping is being defined. Suppose you just think that printer, scanner, CD driver, CPU, these are all your resources. So what I can do is, I can assign what? An integer number. I can assign what? An integer number. And how I can request for the resources is in an increasing order. So suppose you just think that I have requested for resource 1. Okay, P1 is requested for resource what? 1. And it's going to request for resource type which one have? CD driver 5. Okay. And now if it want to request for scanner, it is not possible because 5 is more. So that is the case what they said. To request a resource type RJ, if you want to request your RJ, a process must release all Ri, means whichever I is greater than what? The requesting resources. That's what I said. I is greater than or equal to J. So here P1 process is requested resource number 1 and resource number 5. And now if it want to request for your scanner, it has to release what? The higher order resources. That's what they said. See, to request resource Rj, a process must release all Ri. So I should be greater than or equal to J. That's all. So any particular process, it should request in which one? Increasing order. So I'll just give an example. See here, P1 is requesting for resource R1, but it is being held by P2, and P2 is requesting for which one? Resource type R2. But P1 is what it is doing? It is holding R2, but it can't request R1. Means number. It is holding 2, but it can't request for what? 1. Whenever it has to request, it has to release this resource and request for the previous resources. Hope you are clear. So this is the way in which the circular wait can be avoided. So this is your deadlock prevention, guys. Okay. So what you can do is, you can violate any of the 4 necessary conditions such that what happens is, the deadlock will never happen in the system. One of the conditions should not hold good. That's it. So we have discussed mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption and circular right. Thank you.